What is up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the Daily Crypto Byte. Today is Thursday, December 9th, and as always, I am joined by my esteemed co-host, Mr. CJ Reichel. CJ, how are you doing today?
Doing well, Monty. Doing well. Just another day in crypto. How about you, my friend?
Doing well. Yeah, just another day in crypto. Just another day where Michael Saylor buys the dip. Haven't got much of a reaction to price off that news yet, but also, we had a really important event yesterday where we had some crypto executives, in front of Congress, and it seemed like it was a rather productive meeting. So we'll talk about that as well. But yeah, let's dive right into it. And I'm see you're pulling up a tweet from Mr. Sam Bankman-Fried. What do we got here, CJ?
I'll get to the SBF tweet in just a second. Let's just check out how much Bitcoin Sailor has now, which is 122,000 Bitcoins.
Wow.
Quite a lot, but 3.66 billion at an average price of 29K. So when will it be enough, Mr. Sailor? I don't know. But regardless, quite a purchase, quite a dip buying exercise. He actually bought at 57, so we've actually come down quite a bit since these last purchases. But then, of course, the disclosure comes out a little bit after the fact. If we look at SBF, he was one of the CEOs, CEO of FTX Exchange, to testify in front of Congress yesterday. And, I think this tweet really sums up a lot of what occurred during that time. He says, I came in expecting hostility and grandstanding, but instead found the discussion to be by and large productive and helpful. I'm excited to keep engaging with lawmakers and regulators to refine the regulatory landscape. So I was pretty impressed too. It's interesting. It seems like we've taken the word blockchain and turned it into Web 3.0 or Web 3. And now it has a positive connotation, where I feel like the word blockchain used to have a little bit of a negative connotation. But
Yeah, absolutely, CJ. Very glad to hear that was productive. I mean, we talk about all the time about how regulational clarity is so important to this space, especially when you consider, the lack of institutional participation relative to traditional markets. That institutional participation and participation from hedge funds, family offices, lots of that is contingent on regulational clarity, which seems to be, coming soon, and we're making steps in the right direction. I think you make a great point there. It seems now that this perception of blockchain has shifted from being about, it used to be just about money. It was strictly monetary. That's was the perception of all these congressmen. And every time any of these executives were brought in front of Congress, the focus of the conversation was about the monetary, aspect of cryptocurrencies and blockchain. But now we're seeing something more, it's more all-encompassing. It's this Web 3.0 concept, and it seems like the lawmakers actually kind of understand that, which surprised me, surprised Sam Bankman-Fried, and led to an ultimately productive conversation yesterday. So good stuff. Yeah.
yes, very surprising. This is one that you had sent me, but pretty funny. Either way, this particular gentleman was actually very receptive to a lot of discussions and points that were being made. And I think that one of the general premises that, the government was really starting to get was that, you had Web 1, where it was just strictly read only. Then you had Web 2, where you could log in, produce comments, things like social media was created. But now Web 3 is completely different, because it allows its users to own a part of the network, whereas in the Web 2, you have a siloed centralization of 10 companies like Google, Facebook, and so forth, controlling and benefiting from all of that monetary gain. Whereas in the Web 3, it can be given back to the users by owning a piece of Ethereum, or a piece of AVAX or Solana or so forth. So I was really glad to see that, that idea was finally realized and acknowledged, in a much broader scale. So.
Yeah, absolutely. How about we get to a little bit of price action here? We talked about Saylor kind of buying this dip. Bitcoin not really responding too positively to that news. In the past, CJ, whenever we heard news of Saylor buying Bitcoin or any company buying Bitcoin, that news itself was enough to drive price. We're not seeing that today. Any thoughts on Bitcoin's current price action and what we're seeing today?
Yeah, I remember the days of when it was exciting when Michael Saylor was buying. Don't get me wrong, it still is interesting, but like the first few purchases, um, and then of course, Galaxy Digital and all of those came in. It really shot us from the wave from like 8K to 15K and then boom, straight to 20K. So those days were reminiscent. But nonetheless, let's get to Bitcoin's price action and pull up some charts. Starting with the S&P, we do have a lot of traditional markets and just indices down across the board. Dow is down about 0.2%, IWM down about 0.6%, NASDAQ down as well after really a great start to the week with 2 days of really bullish price action, but seeing a little profit taking today. We'll see if the trend can continue upward or if it makes a lower high here. That will be interesting to watch because it will definitely affect Bitcoin, um, in my opinion. But if we look at BTC, we have been rejected tentatively, I guess you could say. We still are holding these support levels, but this bearish engulfing candle does not look the greatest from a technical perspective. I have to say though, I still think the lows are in at roughly 41 to 42K. Whether we go and revisit them, is another question. Either way, I think long-term accumulation is still decent at these levels. The same way, or a very similar way that it was, at this level. You can see that we did bounce after a capitulation wick, but that wasn't enough for the trend. We didn't have a V-shaped recovery. Many of us here were hoping for that V-shaped recovery, but as of now, we're still kind of consolidating a little bit here from a technical perspective. And depending on how bearish the traditional markets get, there could be a possibility of retesting those lows here, like what we did, similarly in the summertime. So we'll see. I do still think that that low is, pretty strong support at this current point. But interested to hear your thoughts as well, Monty, in terms of the recent price action in Bitcoin, lack of strength, and the inability to rally overnight here.
Yeah, one thing that we talked about a little bit yesterday on our webinar, and by the way, thank you to everyone who attended yesterday's webinar and participated. We appreciate it as always. Great questions were asked. But one thing that I want to take a look at is the weekly chart for Bitcoin, because I think that kind of puts some perspective onto the price action we've seen in the last month and really kind of how we've come down to retest this critical level. As you can see here, this is the 20-period smooth moving average, which I always talk about as being, good support or resistance during a trending market. This is clearly a trending market since the month of September. We've been, trending up. And one thing that you'll notice here is that in September, when we had our other recent liquidation event, we did come all the way down, retest this level. We saw a similar supply absorption that we saw here, just less because there was less liquidations that occurred. From here we saw liquidations occurring 50,000 all the way down to 42,000, but here we really just saw the liquidations from 43 to about 40,000. But after that we saw a really nice bullish engulfing candle following that retest of the 20-period smooth moving average and a continuation of the positive price action that we saw here in the beginning of August. So now that we've kind of come down, retested this critical level, we're forming a bit of a doji candle here. As you can see, bearish volume has been decreasing as we retest this critical level. I think a bounce is definitely in the cards here. So, from the weekly perspective, I think it looks a lot more positive than, overall the daily perspective, where we kind of have broken this 20-period smooth moving average and are now struggling to get back above it. So, interesting stuff. But ultimately, I think you're right, CJ. When we look at the S&P, I think a lot of Bitcoin's price action recently has been contingent on the risk on psychology that comes with positive stock market performance. And as you can see here, we're getting rejected at these critical levels of the previous all-time high. If we take a look at the weekly chart as well, we're seeing something comparable to what we're seeing in Bitcoin in the sense that, it's wanting to break out, but retesting a critical level here. So I think that ultimately, if we see the S&P break out, continue this trend on the weekly chart, that would bode well for not only Bitcoin, but the entirety of the crypto market. And yeah, I think that right now we're at a bit of a turning point as evident from the weekly chart. But that's about all I got to say for Bitcoin at this point.
Yeah. And one thing that I've been experimenting with late last night, it was very late, so I didn't post it in chat. But Solana is, I think, one of the reasons that it's been so dominant is one, because we talked about NFTs and that craze that happened in the webinar yesterday. But also, when you look at decentralized exchanges and the ability to use leverage and have funding and be able to short sell various assets, the best dexes I've found have been on Solana, because I think they take a very strong trader type mindset, especially with jump trading, acknowledging their contributions and openly stating that they've contributed to the Solana ecosystem. So two of the dexes that I've been checking out and placing some sell orders on, and, if you have money in DeFi, or, for instance, I had a little bit of money in DeFi, so I experimented with shorting some Bitcoin just to say pick up a little bit more in the short term. I'm still long term very bullish, but if you get these shorter term scalp trades and you have a nice place for execution, it could be interesting. So one thing or a couple places that I was checking that out last night were Mango Markets. Developers and their office, I believe, are in Chicago here with us. But I really like this particular exchange if you're looking for a place to go short. Also, Radium Dex is a great one. Also, Bonafide Perps is one of the ones I was using as well. Might have to use the VPN, though, to get around that one. It's not illegal. It's just they don't want to open themselves up because they're being proactive to regulation. So, anyways, just some interesting thoughts there. Monty, I'll leave it with you, sir.
Yeah, and on that note, CJ, we've recently added a couple courses to our education curriculum where you can check out some of these interesting DeFi projects on various layer one blockchains. So definitely worth checking that out. CJ just added another course, and yeah, that's about all we got for today. So if you guys want to join our community of traders, you can check that out at markrebellion.com/try crypto. We have a deal going on right now where you can get $100 off the annual membership. You can check that out at markrebellion.com/try crypto. We got a pro charting service, 24/7 chat. We publish actionable trade insights with entries, exits, stop losses, news pieces, and of course our education curriculum with over 20 hours of content. So definitely head over there and check that out if you have not already. And if you're looking for a place to trade crypto or just hold your crypto, we recommend you check out Invest Voyager. They are the sponsor of this show. You can hold 60 plus assets there, commission free, earn up to 12% interest on assets like that, and even up to 10% on stable coins like USDC. And if you do head over there, use code REBEL25 when you sign up for $25 free in crypto. But that's all I got. CJ, any parting words for our audience here?
No, just hang in there. It takes time for the market to kind of figure out where it wants to go at this particular point, but still do think a decent chance that the low is in here. So we'll see. It's going to be exciting either way. Yeah. So thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful day in the world wherever you are, and we'll see you on the next one.
Take care.